Well, yeah, you were talking about the meaning of life, basically, I think.
No, I think that yeah, so kids have the opportunity to look for
Different critics, right?
people who reflect them better, or are more they have more of a connection to. Um, so that definitely changes the game. But we also have access to more history. So you can look back and say, like, okay, so Bad Brains was there at the beginning, and you do a little bit of research and you find out that they were actually like the first, if not among the first five uh, bands that could be described as hardcore. You
Mm,
know, the word moshing comes out of their
mm,
a story from them, right?
mhm.
Uh, but then this band resurfaces, and it's like, oh wait, so there was an all black band playing in the circle of MC5 and Iggy Pop,
Wow.
you know, like, so the bands that we recognize as the the godfathers of punk, like they had black, like direct black inspiration, not just like, oh,
Mm,
it's like, they like jazz or they like blues or whatever,
mhm, mhm,
Or you find out about Pure Hell, who was another band that was all black, that was actually around in between the two of those two, that
mm,
was playing around the New York Dolls era. And when Malcolm McLaren, who was the manager of the Sex Pistols before he started the Sex Pistols, he was
mm,
hanging around New York City, seeing like the punk scene that was yet to be named. They were calling
mm,
it New Wave at that time. Um, and he meets these black punk guys, and he's like, yeah, I want to start a band. I want to bring a band to England, and like and try to promote these clothes that I'm doing with Vivienne Westwood. And basically he's offering them the opportunity to become the Sex Pistols.
mm,
So it's like there are these like major, not like kind of minor, but like major black figures,
mm,
and black bands, all black bands, uh, at the forefront of all of these movements.
mm,
Um, so so yes, you can look at black punk now, today, and see that some of the most popular bands in the scene right
mm,
now are Soglo and Zulu, both of whom are Zulu's all black and
mhm,
Soglo is mostly black. And then you can look back to the beginning and all the origins, and also see all of these important black bands.
mhm.
And so then punk doesn't feel as white as it's characterized as
Mhm.
being, you know. And
Yeah.
that's not even to talk about all the like the Latinos and all the Asians and all the other
Right.
POC people who
Right.
have been kind of like whitewashed or silenced
Mm.
through history, and are only starting to have uh, bigger voices or be recognized.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I used to sing for a like emo core band called Light the Fuse and Run, and
Hmm.
we toured out to California for the first time in 2002. And I remember coming back to Virginia and talking to my parents, like, there's more people who look like me out there, and they're also like into the same stuff as me. I need to get the hell out of Richmond.
Um.
So it has always been present, and it can be easy to forget or be kind of marginalized.
Yeah. 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 You were mentioning, James. You were mentioning Fishbone. Here's an unsolicited trivia question.
Mhm.
Do you remember on which '90s action soundtrack Fishbone appeared? A big
Action.
I got
action
this.
is the key word. Action is the
Okay,
key word.
Chris, take it away.
Were they on the Judgment Night soundtrack?
Close.
Oh,
Now, I'm going to say Last Action Hero.
oh,
Ah,
we're both too
I have
for all
one.
these movies, these corporate movies. So
Right. Well, no, so I mean, when I'm saying that, you might be right too, Chris. I'm the one. I'm just
No,
because it's
he's
the
not
one I'm
right.
thinking of.
Judgment Night was that was the collaboration. Uh,
That was like what? That was
that
like
was
the
like
rap
it
and
was
rock. Who was that? Ice T.
yeah. That
yeah,
was like
De La Soul and Teenage Fan
Onyx and Biohazard, and
Onyx and Biohazard. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that was the hit off of that one. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but Fishbone was also in Back to the Beach, the
Ah,
the comedy with Annette Funicello and what's his name,
Frankie Avalon.
Frankie Avalon. They did like they came back and did one in
Whoa,
the late
whoa.
90s. Fishbone was in that as well as Pee Wee.
Deep cuts, deep cuts.
Iconic
Oh
cinema.
my gosh! So I definitely was going to go listen to Fishbone, the Last Action Hero, and I'm forgetting about the Onyx and Biohazard too. I'm going to go check that out after we're done here. Oh, man.
You're about to be tearing it up tonight.
Right. Oh my god, my kids are like, it's a Monday night, Dad. I'm like, I don't care. um, there. I just wonder about like I was saying, I said some of those quotes about quote, being black and being punk challenges traditional ideas of blackness, and that is so punk. um the idea of there's one of the graphic novel excerpts. It's about these two guys who kind of find each other, and they're following each other. They're not necessarily friends, but feeling
Yeah, A.T. Crowley's piece.
Thank you. Yes. And the idea of, kind of feeling stigmatized for being punk, for being black punk, and just, finding others, but just more so at the very root of it, like black punk. And I'm so impressed that, like, especially some of the later pieces in the book, in the anthology, they're not necessarily even about music. Some of the fiction, like music is kind of touched on, maybe not, but just about how black punk is about liberation, what it really is about, and just about how it touches upon intersectionality. Gender fluidity is mentioned a lot. I guess just about how revolutionary it is.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, punk isn't, it isn't just a genre of like aggressive music. We were focusing on punk that is kind of regarded as a lifestyle, that includes progressive politics, and it'll touch on the other stuff you do in your life. Be that, the way that you make money, the way that you form and interact within your community. And I think that was, and we wanted to show that. We didn't want this to just be just about the music. There was a popular punk festival in the 90s called More Than Music that had like a political sort of community aspect to it. And we took that kind of more than music ethic to our book as well. And a lot of the people in there are like multi-hyphenates. So I made a playlist for Large Hearted Boy that has maybe 10 or 12 songs just by the bands of people who were in the book. And we have people who are also, doing everything from pottery to political activism, to teaching in there.
Yeah. Like you already talked about, said so well. It's so cool that it is about now. You touch upon the history, which you must, and which is, definitely necessary. And there's, great precursors to these more current ones, more modern ones, but like that the music and the lifestyle, like you said, keep evolving and more progressive. I mean, I don't know, I don't know, Motley Crue, Vince Neil, is he the lead singer?
Yeah.
Whatever. I'm thinking, picking a band out there. I don't necessarily think that he has, read up on all these things. Punk musicians seem, and I'm sure you kind of cherry pick a little bit, but it seems so with it, know their stuff. They're well read. They can speak on all kinds of different topics. I remember in the 90s when I heard like, Liar by Henry Rollins. I'm like, oh, he's good at yelling. But I've seen over the years, like he's a brilliant dude, right? And like these I think Bad Religion seem to be, and all these people that you have that are musicians or writers or both in the book, they're with it. So I'd love to know too about gender. You give a big time spotlight to so many women, which they're already taking it for themselves. They have so many great things going on too, but I just wonder about, have you seen, even in your lifetimes, in your short lifetimes, since you're so young, have you seen an evolution in the way that women are treated and kind of like the space they have in black punk in general too?
I mean, it's hard to speak on behalf of women and non-binary folks, but like the conversation is happening in a way that it definitely wasn't in the 90s. I'm friends with some people who were like early Riot Grrrl pioneers, and when they tell me stories about the crazy, like the shit that they had to go through just to be in a band, like I just, I'm sure that some of that happens, but not to the degree that it was then, you know? I feel like there are a lot of female fronted bands, and there aren't the kind of questions that, like, when I was a kid, you'd see a female fronted band and somebody'd be like, you know, whose girlfriend is that? Like, they're not really into it. Somebody just dressed them up in that t-shirt. Like, you know, there's always these questions of like whether they're really punk or they're really about it, you know? And I think that women have more of an opportunity to express themselves and express their and relay their experience. I'm quite sure there's still a lot of bullshit, you know.
Sure.
But I would like to believe it's a safer space than it was back in the day.
Right.
I also think that like women and non-binary people, which I know that's a relatively newer term considering the history that we're talking about here, have always been present rather, and have always been, but are sometimes relegated to like not exactly the glory roles in the scene. They're not always going to be up on stage playing music, but they might be people who are running venues, booking gigs, running record labels, for example, working relatively behind the scenes in the scene. And so I think a virtue of not focusing like just on music in this book is that there was, you know, plenty of room to talk about those experiences as well. You know, a lot of people into punk are in bands, but a lot of people who are into punk are into other aspects of the lifestyle of the scene as well. I also think that, there are plenty of like thoughtful, politically minded punks out there, but there still are plenty of, you know, dumbasses who just want to party and listen to loud music, and that's okay. But those also generally, like, the person who's, you know, taking down a 12-pack of beer and listen, and, you know, just wants to mosh, like, they're probably not going to sit down and write something for a book. So I think that also, you know, skews our book toward them. You know, it's a book, so people involved are going to be a little more thoughtful. Also wanted to add, like, that this our table of contents happened pretty organically. We weren't like trying to look virtuous by forefronting a bunch of women, queer people, non-binary people. This is who stepped forward for the book, or who wanted to talk to us.
Who we know. This is who we know. This is the community that we, you know, came up with. Most of the people in this book are people who I knew before this book. And you know, Chris as well. And I think it's just like, we are the kind of punk rockers who embrace that. Say this again, like, there is you recognize that punk rock is like 50 years old, right? So it's a large community that's gone through all kinds of different avenues and political spheres, and you know, all kinds of stuff. So, you know, the lane that Chris and I travel in is one that is more political, that's more you know, has been intersectional, or understood the intersectionality of these politics long before we knew those words, you know, that word. So you know, that's the lane that we travel in. So that's the lane of people who came through, you know.
So much cool stuff in the book, just about, you know, music and art for what it should be. This idea of getting it all out there, and, you know, expressing your feelings. Towards the beginning, there's the round table with black and brown femmes, and I think it's like literally like the question is, you know, give us some adjectives, you know, about Black punk: transformative, rebellious, wild, compassionate, revolutionary, audacious. Right? So good. There's that incredible story, and remind me, who did Maggot Brain?
Hanif Abdurraqib wrote the piece about Funkadelic and Maggot Brain.
It was Funkadelic. Yeah. Thank you. Right. And so, you know, this idea that the guitarist was told, like, play as if your mother had died, and Hanif obviously explains it much better and does a great job with it. Just this idea of, imagining your mother dead and just singing, and almost like he could never regain that again. That's like his legendary, piece. It's that 10-minute song that people get pissed off when you play it on the jukebox, right? It's so long. But just, and then there's the, Mariah Stovall, her fiction is called The Princess and the Pit. And it's, I think if I understood it well, it's definitely an allegory, but it's like the ending is not your good girl. This idea of the book has so many ways in which you can be black and so many ways in which you can be punk. And Mariah, it doesn't have a happy ending. It doesn't have she was the princess and she was the hero. There's also that great fiction piece. This idea of where the girl, I believe her father is going through medical issues. And at the
Courtney
end,
Long's piece, Music Means Free.
thank you. And she just goes into her car at the end, right, and just screams her lungs out to the song on the radio. And that's really what art and creativity is all about, right?
Yeah, it's cathartic.
Cathartic is the word.
It can give your life meaning. It can help you get through some stuff. Yeah.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. The ending, the last couple pieces in the book are, the tattoo conversation we talked about with Brontez Purnell, kind of just shooting the shit, right? There's a nice balance between the nostalgia and the future. And I love how you end the book with some acts to watch. And then, any controversy? Because you picked some of your favorite songs in alphabetical order, which was smart. That was smart. So it wouldn't be like, that was my eighth, it's alphabetical. Any controversy over which ones you picked, or how hard was that to pick those favorite songs? I'm sure there was thousands.
We just asked our contributors to name 2-3 songs that they wanted to hear. And then, sometimes, we had like people wanted to hear listed off a handful of songs by like Special Interest or Soul Glow, for example. Mm-hmm. So then we'd just like pick one. Sometimes it was our favorite. Little editorial prerogative there. But we wanted, once again, we wanted the book to show punk as being this widespread thing. There's a lot of ways to be black and punk, and you can see that even in the list of music that's in there, that ranges from like catchy poppy stuff to the heaviest, screamiest maelstrom of music you've ever heard. Something is bound to click with you, and hopefully readers will find a way to feel seen by something in this book. That was the big point.
For both of you, James, how do you hope this book is seen in 10 years? You hope it's in college classrooms? You hope it's, at a, indie record store? Do you hope it's taught at the high school level? Do you hope it's, how do you want this book to be seen in the future?
Yeah, I think all of those things are possible. All of those things are true of my other work. I think there's something, there's a certain amount of, how do I put this? The fact that this is the first book of its kind, so it absolutely will be adopted into curriculum, Yes. And at the same time, it's not academia, and Chris always imagined, I remember multiple times him saying like this being one of the like folded up leafed, like spine bent books that's like at every punk house,
Nice.
And early conversations about the book were like, do you want it to be a hardback? You want it to be, we're like, no, let's make it as cheap as possible so that it can fit in people's back pocket. It can be something that people can take with them. They can share with their friends. So yeah, I think all of those things are probably
and cool. that level of accessibility, it isn't just about the price of the book. It's also about the contents of it. It's not an academic book. I think it will work in an academic setting. We would love to see it along with having it be a punk house bookshelf classic. We'd love to see it on some college syllabi, but this isn't like a dry academic paper. This is lively writing, and we hope that people recognize that.
Well, yeah, I could see it working, so many different ways. Like a lot of it, could be taken, piece by piece, excerpt by excerpt, nonfiction by nonfiction, fiction by fiction. You could teach it in a fiction class. You could teach it in American studies. I forget his name. One of the great writers in the piece, he had this great, beautiful image in his short story. The last image is of cotton candy, like coming from a wispy paper cone.
Oh man, that guy's got skills. I don't know who wrote
Right?
that.
You know, I don't know. Maybe Chris Terry, something like that. Man, I love that image.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I have a piece of
Yeah.
short fiction in the book as well.
Yeah.
Me and James and I, once again, that's the editorial prerogative. We both
Nice.
up with the book as well. We wanted to hang out with everybody else, and they had
Oh,
to hang.
that was such a cool one. And James, I love that's what I was talking about earlier. You said you wrote something about how your daughter was like, I'm gonna go goth, and you're like, yes. So I love the personal touches that came in there too, right? Victory.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
for
right?
better or worse.
James, if you feel like it, you can say no comment, but what are you working on for in the future?
Yeah, well, I have a deal with Pantheon. I'm doing
Nice.
a book it's going to be prose. It's a prose hybrid. It's a prose comics hybrid.
Cool.
And it's basically my story about like discovering all of these politics in punk, deciding to make Afro punk, and then all the ways I compromise those politics, and ultimately, Afro punk got away from me. So it's like a capitalist cautionary tale.
CCT, capitalist cautionary tale, one of those. Man. Well, thank you for sharing that. Chris, anything that you're working on? You said there's another novel, I think.
Yeah, I'm on the 4th draft of my 3rd novel. I did 3 drafts really fast because I really wanted to get done, and those 3 drafts were very incomplete. So
Okay.
I'm trying not to like compete with a clock and just get it done and enjoy the process. I'm excited about the story. I'm trying to learn more about plot and
Okay.
about genre. I read a lot of genre fiction as opposed to the sort of headier literary stuff, and
Okay.
I want that to be reflected in my work more. Yeah, I put in an hour this morning. It wasn't my best writing day. I had a better week last week, so I'm a little salty. Yeah.
Okay.
But tomorrow will hopefully be better. I'm going to stare at a wall and think about it before I go to bed tonight.
Well, social media tells me you should be able to write a book in a month. Nanmo, Rimo, and whatever the heck. So come on.
So I teach writing at UCLA Extension and elsewhere, and I sometimes get students that are like, yeah, so I wrote this thing in National Novel Writing Month. What do I do with these 300 pages that I shit out? And I'm like, start over? I don't know. Yeah, I wish they had like National Novel Writing week and a half, so you could get like 50 pages and then figure out what you want to do. So you don't just like take a left turn and then.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like you got too far into it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh man, I appreciate that. So I'm not sure, James, why you're no fun, but Spooner's No Fun, right, is the website.
Mm-hmm.
Is it spooners.nofun.com?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would have like the tour info, right?
Yeah, there's an up-to-date events page, almost up to date. I have a couple more to add on there, but cool. Yeah, okay. I lost you there. Okay, yeah. So there's an events page there, as well as like shop. You can buy all the books there as well, and links to all of our stuff and whatnot. Yeah,
nice. And so I'll be linking for sure. We could have a whole episode. I did have a whole episode with Chris about Black Card mostly. Great book. High Desert obviously has done great. We're gonna do a whole episode about that. So I'll put all those links there on the episode notes. And Chris and James, any other places to find you online? You want to give your social media shout outs?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Spooners No Fun as well.
Okay.
I'm Chris L. Terry, middle initial L, on Instagram, Twitter, whatever it's called, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, come find me. I don't have a website right now, but you can find me on the internet.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Gentlemen, really appreciate your time. I know you're going to be up in the Sacramento area soon. I'm hoping to see you. Although I said I may be out of town, but if not, they got some stuff coming next summer. And congratulations. I mean, it really is just kind of an incredible accomplishment. I can see it being, that the one kid, seeing it at the library, seeing it in his classroom, seeing it in his, friend's back pocket, like he talked about, like, what's this? What's this? And, a few hundred pages later, like, holy crap, that was quite an accomplishment. So congrats. I'm sure you guys are, you guys deserve a break, but also continue good luck with your, with the rest of your work.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us on Chills at Will.
Awesome to have you, Chris. The jacket for the second timers in the mail the next week or so. And and James, I look forward to getting you that for when your next book comes out. We'll get you that second
All right.
jacket. Thanks, gentlemen. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.